not to happen. I mean, there has been talk that President Trump is looking at potential military targets. Obviously, he ordered the attack on Iran's nuclear facility, so I'm sure it's not out of the question. What could he do that would help?
I mean, the only thing that can help is that's what the Iranian people are calling for, which is, stop the people who are killing us at close range, and they're in the thousands now. And if we don't stop them, then it's going to continue. And they've already shown that this is not a legitimate regime. It's not a regime that represents the people. And they want the right to have an internationally monitored, free and fair election. They want to choose their own fate and their own destiny. But how can they do that when they're being met with war bullets simply for asking for freedom? I mean, and so I'm not a politician, Jake. I don't know how that comes about. But all I know is that we can appeal to lawmakers and we can appeal to the international community to do whatever it takes, as one dissident said, do whatever it takes to stop them and protect us. It's really that simple. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm calling on international lawmakers and really for a multilateral approach. Everybody coming together. Please, the people of Iran are standing united, shoulder to shoulder. It's a diverse country. They have their political differences, but there's one thing that they agree on. They don't want this regime. So how do we put that in place? How do we protect them and for the day after ensure that they have an internationally monitored, free and fair election where they choose their own fate and their own destiny? That's really what they want. That's what they've asked me to relay.
Amen. Nazanin Boniadi, thank you so much. Always
Did he say amen?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Tonight, the FBI is releasing new details about the suspect accused of setting a fire at the largest synagogue in Mississippi. We're breaking down new revelations next.
No.
Yeah.
Really? Was it some whatever kind of person? Pro-Palestine, whatever. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy.
Bringing you more choices.
I think it's the largest and the oldest.
Even more adventure for everyone.
In where?
Start your adventure today.
Somewhere in
Great deal on
Mississippi, I
new
don't
Jeep
know.
Grand
No, it was the oldest and whatever.
Oldest and
Right now,
biggest.
well-qualified lessees can use the 2026 Jeep Wrangler Sport S-Gas model for $359 a month. Hurry, this great offer ends February 2nd. Visit your local Jeep Brand dealer.
As much as we appreciate what our mechanics can do and who they are, no one looks forward to seeing the inside of an auto shop. Because if you're here, your car is too. And that means something's wrong. And likely, it means an expensive repair bill. That is,
Unless you call Car Shield.
when you call Car Shield before your car breaks down, they have plans that cover up to
They have plans that cover up to
5,000
5,000 plans and
Don't
systems
wait.
and whatever.
Call Car Shield today before it's too late.
Before it's too late.
788-2415.
Call Car Shield today before it's too late. I actually had a really big lunch.
I kind of did too. I was going to maybe make some burritos a little bit, but
Okay. Damn, I haven't pushed to my private GitHub since like the end of October.
Visit bombas.com and get 20% off your first order.
It's crazy. Just with the parental's house and the whatevers. All the other things I'm doing, just haven't had time to push to this. Y'all. College basketball. Yeah, but Maryland is some garbage right now. They're doing really bad.
after we have baby Douglas, we'll get a little turf onesie.
Want to hear something big?
And the Eagles.
Yeah. And
New season premieres January 24th on
Nah, we don't like Argentina.
an Orioles onesie and a Bengals onesie.
Y'all. And the Capitals. Capitals? That's like the one team we share. in terms of city.
I just don't know. I actually, you know, I just don't want a Orioles Swansea, and I don't want a Rangers Swansea, and I don't want a Terps Swansea.
Yeah, you want Yankees, Steelers, and whatever's. Is that what you were gonna say?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And now it's Cowboys.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Explore CNN
Uh-huh.
podcasts for your daily dose of news.
Explore CNN podcasts,
Smart
Brenda.
storytelling. Whether you want to be swept
But you
off
can.
your feet
I just hollered and I said, hey,
But you can, you
or
should.
navigate cutting-edge tech,
Can I ask
I think you should.
follow doctor's orders,
Can she ask a nerdy question?
5-minute walk would do you good.
and discover the conversations shaping our world.
Where do you want to start?
Follow and listen to CNN podcasts wherever you get your podcasts.
The Kunanan. Kunanan. Cha-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Cha-na-na-na-na.
Internationally, the suspect arrested and charged with arson for causing the fire at Mississippi's largest synagogue, with authorities not ruling out possible hate crime charges. Incidents of anti-Semitism, of course, are all on the rise nationwide. CNN's Rafael Romo has details of the unfolding investigation in Mississippi.
Tonight, a confession from the main authorities say set fire to Mississippi's largest synagogue. This, according to a new court filing.
1860 it was started.
Shows a man wearing a hoodie and a mask, pouring liquid
Look at the
from
Tree of
air
Life.
inside the synagogue. The man seems to be making an effort to douse every crevice and corner as he moves around the building. According to a criminal complaint filed Monday, Stephen Spencer Pittman confessed to his father to setting the building on fire after confronting his son about burn on his ankles, hand, and face. The complaint also says Pittman laughed as he told his father what he did, later referring to the Jewish temple as the Synagogue of Satan.
Oh, God.
Interviewed by investigators. According to the Beth Israel congregation,
Remember that guy that talked to Charlie
there was
Kirk?
significant damage to
Said the
temple's
Synagogue of
library
Satan or whatever.
as well as
This was a right-wing attack.
damage throughout the building.
They had broken in through one of the windows from the outside with an axe, apparently, and then proceeded to pour gasoline or some kind of accelerant from it.
Two Torahs and
Jesus.
other sacred scriptures were also destroyed.
It's all gone. All of it.
Beth Israel is Mississippi's first and largest synagogue, built just after the Civil War, and the only synagogue in Jackson. According to the synagogue's website, in 1967,
This guy has such a Mexican
the Ku Klux
accent.
Klan bombed Beth Israel, in part because of the congregation's work in the civil rights movement.
Ay.
Several local officials have publicly expressed support for the congregation.
We just want to let the Beth Israel community know that the city of Jackson is standing with this community. So attack against the synagogue is an attack against all of us.
The fire comes in a way
Glad no one was hurt.
anti-Semitic events across the country. The Anti-Defamation League documented more than 9,300 anti-Semitic incidents across the United States in 2024, a 5% increase from the year before.
The outreach of the community has been overwhelming. A lot of the churches in the area have offered their worship space as our worship space as we need it.
Rafael Romo.
That's nice.
Atlanta.
Thanks to Rafael Romo for that report. I want to bring in Leora Red. She's the founder and executive director of Stop Anti-Semitism. Leora, good to see you again. So the complaint
Leora.
says that this suspect called this temple
Is it Leora or Leora?
the Synagogue of Satan.
My mom said Leora is a girl's name.
Figures. Candace Owens comes to mind.
No, she guessed the name.
Describe houses of
Are you
worship for
serious?
Jews.
Well, she was guessing
What do you think
names.
that could say about the suspect?
No, she doesn't know. She just said, like, there was a name that I saw, Leora or whatever. She was naming a bunch of different names.
This is the
I think
go-to
it's
language
going
for
I've known male Leoras.
controversial anti-Semitic figures on the right, such as Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes
Yeah.
is another example. But if we
That's who this was.
decades going back, I mean, this is the systematic vocabulary of the Nation of Islam and Louis Farrakhan. And
Yep.
This particular individual, we took a peek at his social media, and he appeared to be a promising baseball player, a student at a Catholic school, and received some type of scholarship and or future possibility of playing in his postgraduate studies. So we're not sure what exactly happened to him during his time in high school and thereafter. However, we are not surprised, or we won't be surprised if we learn that his pastor pool of favorites does include Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, and others.
Yeah, who also, they all cloak themselves in Christianity, even though it's not any form of Christianity I recognize. It just seems like you can't go a day without there being something anti-Semitic. There was a post, a GoFundMe that I saw earlier today from conservatives for the ICE officer involved in that shooting. And like in the language of the GoFundMe, it said, you know, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, who was Jewish. Like, as if that was relevant at all to anything. I mean, Stephen Miller's Jewish too. It's like, it's completely irrelevant to any of
That
this.
is irrelevant.
And as we, Raphael noted,
That is irrelevant.
FBI hate crime statistics show that hate crimes against Jews far exceed any other crimes against any other religious groups. Why? What's going on?
Good for you, Jake.
So I have to tell you, that GoFundMe that you just referred to, after much uproar, thankfully that note that the mayor was Jewish was removed. And there was absolutely no reason except to possibly vilify him by the individual who started that GoFundMe. Any other person's religion wasn't noted there. But again, just to vilify the mayor and note that he was Jewish is just completely bizarre to us. Whether, you know, whatever side of this debate that you are on, the fact that the mayor is of a certain religion has nothing to do with anything. That being said, whether we're looking at the right, whether we're looking at the left, whether we're looking at Christianity, Islam, anti-Semitism, and hatred of Jews is coming at us at every single angle. And we've been in touch with the DOJ and specifically Leo Terrell's office in regards to this individual, this lunatic who set Mississippi's oldest and largest synagogue on fire. The fact that he maniacally was laughing to his father as he was telling him about what he did is just a true testament to the problem that we're facing as a community right now.
And Leora, I mean, speaking of synagogues, there was a demonstration outside a synagogue in New York City, and the group protesting they labeled themselves pro-Hamas. Hamas being a group that the U.S. government designates a terrorist group. They kill Jewish civilians all the time. They kill American civilians. It was so stark that New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, both of whom are very critical of Israel, Governor Kathy Hochul, other officials, all very quick to condemn. So as you know, it's coming from right, left,
Come on, Jake, you're better than that.
And after Zohran Mamdani won the election, I just want to note that language that was so blatant right now to the rally that you had just noted was never so overly pro-Hamas. It was always pro-Palestinian. Now that Band-Aid was fully ripped off, and they were literally chanting, "We are Hamas," without any fear of consequences, and it's just absolutely shameful. I will say also, we're not buying Zohran Mamdani's and AOC's disgusting claims of how awful this is. We firmly believe this is part of their voting base, and the fact that Zohran Mamdani refuses to this day to denounce, globalize the Intifada. What does he think the Intifada is? Sentiments and prayers? No, it's and rallies such as this one.
We are with Stop Anti-Semitism. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. President Trump now says he regrets
Jake's like, gotta shut her up.
voting machines after Joe Biden legally and completely legitimately beat him in the 2020 election. My panel weighs in next.
Hey, Jakey Jake.
I was having some trouble.
You do some good, and then
I know the biggest change I've noticed is having
implicitly has type any.
I feel good from morning till night.
Locations where type cannot be determined.
Vicks VapoStick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors. Easy to apply for the whole family.
Why is that an error?
VapoStick. And for on-the-go Vicks Vapors, try Vicks Vapo Inhaler.
This is the year your hair stops holding you back. You'll ditch the hat and so nervous. It's just not about your hairline. That shift won't happen overnight. It'll come from sticking to a hair growth routine that works from the inside out. So when she walks in, you won't be in your head. You'll be right here. Because the difference isn't just in your hair. Start your hair growth journey at Nutrafol.com/men.
Ooh, stuffed up again?
So congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Just Sinex? Breathe. What is wow? Sinex? Breathe.
I started paying attention to gut health when I
That was funny.
saw how many different things it's linked to. People rely on me. The kids rely on me. My team at work relies on me. And having balanced gut health really leads me to help balance the rest of my life.
Did you know 60% of women experience leaks with their bladder protection pads?
I did not.
Try Always Discreet. It's designed to protect. It has a unique core that converts liquid to gel. For up to 0 leaks, 0 odor. And its rapid dry technology locks leaks in seconds to keep you drier.
Wow.
And it has up to 40% less bulk than Poise.
Fascinating.
Try Always Discreet. It's designed to protect.
Hey, I'm Roy Butcher. Join me, the United States Air Force Band, Craig Robinson, Dulce Sloan, Michael Ian Black, Jesse James Decker, and many more for a very, very, very merry holiday special right here on CNN.
Merry Holiday Special. It was 3 weeks ago.
Erin Patterson invites her in-laws for lunch.
The death of 3 people.
What killed them was
Did she do it deliberately or did she not? Death Cab, the
No.
on the CNN app.
What is it about these division games that just makes it different?
Nothing like it. The NFL playing against the best.
There's no turning back.
Have a good night tonight.
I trained my entire life for this.
All There Is with Anderson Cooper. Listen at cnn.com/allthereis. Their prized possessions have taken over.
This is worth over $100,000.
What will they sell to reclaim their space? Do you smell that?
Barbies?
Money. Jump or jackpot.
Oh yeah, did you see the new
All
Barbie that
Friday
came
at
out?
9:30 on
No, what?
TV.
For the first time
And we're
ever,
back with the politics.
Mattel
It's a new year and a new
released
portrait
a
for President
Barbie
Trump
that
at the
has
Smithsonian's
autism.
National Portrait Gallery with a new label.
What does that even mean?
Leads out that
Barbie that has like
sentence about how
headphones
he was
on.
impeached twice on charges of
It's
abuse
supposed
of
to be like-
power and incitement of insurrection.
Oh, God.
I don't know if that's
Switch
necessarily
coming
bad.
at the
Like,
same time
little
as
Not
girls
bad.
with autism, like,
It's not bad, but it's like,
a Barbie
ordered
that
the National
resembles
Guard at the
how they
time
look. I mean, that's
to
what Barbie's
seize
supposed to
voting
be.
machines in swing states after his loss in the
yeah, but I don't know. It's just,
So here is
yeah, it's just such a like
what President Trump told us
over the
tonight.
top whatever
About
thing though.
whether using the
I don't know.
military to impound voting
It's like
was
almost
actually a
not
factor.
necessary.
Quote,
It's just like not necessary a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll what they what.
You know, they're good
I'm sure
warriors.
those Barbies are
I'm not sure
expensive,
that
and
they're
I'm sure
sophisticated
they're
enough in the
gonna
ways of
collect
crooked
those, but I'm
Democrats
sure there's not gonna be
and the
that
way
many
they
that
cheat to
Right.
figure that out. So here we are, Charlie Dent, Congressman Dent, with the way this administration is dedicated to
Oh my God,
erasing the
Congressman Charlie
impeachments
Dent?
and rewriting the history of
Amber
January
works for
6th.
him.
Are you?
Huh.
Does this make you worried about what might
When she
happen
was on
in
the Hill.
2028?
Huh.
Well, sure, I'm concerned. I mean, it's terrible. Machines. There was really no fraud to speak of in these swing states, including our state of Pennsylvania. So bottom line is, it just strikes me that this is another form of intimidation, sending maybe a signal to election officials that if he doesn't like the outcome of an election, you may seize your machines. And of course, that would set off a constitutional crisis like we've never seen before. But I guess when you're going to
Yeah, he
seize
lost
Greenland
his
and do all sorts of things, criminally charged. potentially criminally charged with chairman of the Fed.
Mm.
Nothing surprises me anymore.
What do you think?
Well, I don't think it's even till 2028. I think it's
Oh, the
preparing for midterms. Right?
Yeah.
So you think of a presidential election and there's consistency across states because everyone is going to be voting for the president of the United States. Well, let's say Minnesota is the state that he wants to go in and sees and he starts doing it. There are
claims that he's won it 3 times. He actually
I'm aware of that.
yes. Lost it 3 times.
Right. And so I think it is just a warning
That's not
for
it.
people to be on alert, to think, to put in the necessary precautions at the state and local
Is that you
level
viewing
to make sure that
the
their
live
systems
stream?
and procedures are in place and that
Oh,
there's
never
some
mind. I have a
bipartisan
viewer.
support
Hi,
on
viewer.
state and local level because he's waving the flag like he did in 2020.
Hello, welcome.
In a state like Pennsylvania, if the president
We're watching CNN, and I got this whole thing going here.
The guard is also under the jurisdiction of the governor.
Yeah.
Again, another crisis right there. So
Feel free to ask questions or
Senator Elizabeth Warren
if you're
is trying to shape the
interested.
Democratic agenda for the midterms as well as for 2028.
Thanks for
which is
joining.
according to the National Press Club.
Free,
She sent in on
free
my
milk and
colleague Dana
cookies.
Bass, talk about her message.
You okay?
We
Okay.
can either
Here's a
say
little
we
boo.
are all in
Okay.
for American families and lay out in concrete terms, here's how we're going to lower costs. Or we can say we're going to moderate that, we're going to nibble around the edges in order to be more attractive to billionaire donors who might help fund Democratic campaigns. At the end of the day, the money is not worth it if it causes us to narrow up our agenda.
Do you think that that is the reason why Democrats in the past have moderated legislative ideas because of the billionaires that donate, or is it because of voters in the middle, or a combination of both?
I think it's both, actually. I think that one thing Donald Trump has done is he has unearthed this sentiment that things are not working. And I think Democrats have an opportunity to say, you're right, they are not working. And this is the agenda in which we put forth to make them work for you, the American people, the middle class, poor people, folks who are kind of trying to
She a Republican?
first-generation college students. And this is how we do it. The research shows that when we talk about issues that way, moderate voters, centrist voters, and the far left, it's a progressive agenda is actually popular. It is when we start infighting amongst ourselves and saying like crazy radical left is when the agenda gets a little weak and wobbly.
So this is kind of the same debate. One 2028 contender for the Democrats, potentially, former Ambassador Rahm Emanuel, who's also a CNN senior political commentator, at least as of now, until he announces. He seems to agree that there's a split in the Democratic Party. He seems to be wanting to embrace the more moderate side as opposed to the more progressive side, if I can, be simplistic in my characterizations there. And Rahm told Axios last week in Mississippi, quote, there's a resistance wing dominated by Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and there's a renewal wing that will be as forceful in fighting for America as the other wing is in fighting Trump. What do you make of that?
Well, Rahm Emanuel is ruthlessly pragmatic. I've observed that of him when he was chair of the committee. He was all about getting results. Rahm always struck me as that he's not an economic populist like some of these other characters. He is a serious guy, and I think that Rahm is onto something. He is about winning, and he has a good sense of how to find the political center. And I think that's what he is trying to articulate here, not just being a resistance party, but having ideas. So I think there's a lot to be said for Rahm. I know he's got his critics. A lot of people think his time has passed. But if I was a Democrat, I'd listen to what he has to say.
What do you think?
Well, I don't think...
You have thoughts. I see it in your eyes. Just say it.
I don't want to get in trouble on Monday. No.
Not.
I think people are looking for a renewal. It kind of goes back to my other point. People are looking for something different. And so I would just encourage anyone who thinks that there is a split in the Democratic Party right now, I think that they are part of the problem. I think people should be listening to, in order to win in this country right now, you actually can get progressives and moderates. It is actually something, I would encourage the ambassador to remind what happened in 2008. There was like this old school Clinton branch, and then there was this new wave of Obamaism, and people didn't think it was possible, and then Obama was able to build this massive coalition. I think that is what people are looking for right now.
Something that unites the factions of the,
Yes.
of course, in 2008, Obama was actually able to get Republicans Republicans too.
That's right. And
He won Indiana and North Carolina.
and I think we are in this moment where people are sick of parties and looking at R and D, and they're looking for solutions.
Is there anyone in the Democratic Party today that you see who could unite the party and be that Obamacare? Let's say without Indiana.
Well, I think the ones, in my view, again, the Republican, I would suggest maybe a Josh Shapiro, Andy Bashir. I think they're challenging.
But they're not going to vote for Josh Shapiro because he's Jewish.
As it is these days. But I think those two, I would even suggest Ron is in that same category. But those are three that I would look at. Maybe even a Governor Whitmer.
Whitmer, Warnock.
Warnock.
Warnock's in there too. The list is very long and different.
But some of the hard progressive left, I think they're going to be a really tough sell.
Yeah. To be continued. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate having both of you here. How the Department of Homeland Security is hoping to use drones to keep it safe at the World Cup when the World Cup comes to the U.S. later this year. Stay with us.
Grief isn't talked about much, but that's what it's all about. Join me and my guests for a new season with new conversations about loss, life, and love.
Drones.
There is with Anderson Cooper. Listen at CNN.com.
Oh, yeah, do whatever you want. I don't care. Yeah, I'm live streaming. Before you say something.
I describe you, sir. Every night you describe. You look like you need one more than most.
If I could call myself a champion, maybe House Targaryen would take me. Targaryens are incestuous aliens. And tyrants.
So, Duncan McCall, how good a night are you?
Disney Plus, Hulu, and HBO Max together for $19.99 a month.
We will face this together as a family. This tour is just when every single one of us all clicked together. The drama begins now.
Things are getting a little out of hand.
So cute!
It's the ultimate bundle for an unbelievable price.
Yes!
The Disney Plus Hulu HBO Max bundle. Plans starting at $19.99 a month.
All There Is Live, now streaming at cnn.com/allthereis.
The story is everything is bad and getting worse. What?
But I got news for you. New season premieres January 24th on CNN and next day on the CNN app.
I'm just trying to figure you out.
It's not going to be easy.
Critics can't stop talking about I'm Chevy Chase and you're not.
Chevy Chase is talented, yet massive movie.
I'm Chevy Chase and you're not.
It was a mistake to leave SNL.
Chevy has a deep heart.
Right, Buies? I don't think a lot of people have the happiness I have. I am who I am, and I like who I am.
I'm Chevy Chase and you're not. Now streaming on CNN app.
Taylor's engagement was just Princess Di level news.
$2.2 billion in spend is projected based on Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding planning.
A Taylor Swift wedding is a pinnacle moment of celebrity culture.
It says a lot about our country that we have dragged Taylor Swift into a culture war about marriage. People are invested in what they think that her life is. I do. The Taylor and Travis era, now streaming on the CNN app.
That's crazy.
CNN, I mean, I would understand that being on HBO or like Hulu or, you know,
CNN. I mean, it's newsworthy.
CNN is doing
It's newsworthy.
We live for the moment. The kind that changes history.
It's been an incredibly busy day here at the White House.
The
the
conversation.
internet went on board, now it's just gonna break the television.
Right.
Coming from whether across the world or right across the table.
Right.
We live to be there. Meet a new way to experience CNN.
My real passion is finding dead men.
What do you want to do next?
Narrative is important, so you might as well control it. Do you know why I do this? Because I
waves now. It starts internationally. The Department of Homeland Security says it is investing $115 million in counter-drone technologies ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup in the U.S. Drones have been a security concern for public safety for years, and the tournament is expected to bring more than 1 million visitors into the U.S. And our world leader, Swiss court, ruled today that the owner of the ski resort bar that caught fire during a New Year's party, killing 40 people, must remain in custody. Court statement says Jacques Moretti will be held for a provisional period of 3 months. However, the court stated this could be reviewed if measures are taken to counter the risk of Moretti fleeing the country. In our Money Lead today, Mattel launched the very first Barbie with autism. The doll comes with a working fidget spinner, oversized headphones that reduce sensory overload, and a big tablet that represents her communication device. The doll is part of a new collection of Barbies with a range of skin tones,
Interesting.
hair textures, and body types and health conditions. Aaron Burnett out front starts now. I'll see you tomorrow.
Up front next, the breaking news: Trump versus the Fed chair. Trump's own Treasury Secretary unhappy over Trump's DOJ going after Jerome Powell. And one of MAGA's most loyal voices asks, what's the case here? Plus, a quote, federal invasion. That's what Minnesota officials are accusing the Trump administration of tonight as they send an additional 1,000 officers to Minneapolis in the wake of Renee Good's death.
Jeez.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who represents Minneapolis, is our guest tonight. And breaking, leave now. The State Department warning any American citizens in Iran to get out now, as new video reveals a terrifying picture of bloodshed taking place at protests.
Just run into the desert if you can't get out of the country.
And good evening.
So we're gonna bomb the crap out of it.
We begin with breaking news. Trump's inner circle cracking. The DOJ's unprecedented investigation.
Oh, come on.
Chairman Jerome Powell meeting serious resistance from Trump's own Treasury Secretary, who's a stout loyalist on economic issues. Our Kristen Holmes is reporting that Scott Bessent, Secretary Bessent, has told people that he is not happy with the DOJ's decision to go after Powell.
Huh.
The case against him is supposed
Scott Bessent's usually pretty level-headed, actually. I actually like what he says usually.
What is the investigation about? I mean,
He's not really like a loyalist. They're painting him as a Trump loyalist, but he's not. He's just kind of he's very focused on the economy.
Registry, nature, the cost of supplies and labor, which have gone up in part because of tariffs. But to be clear, this renovation as a premise is a fig leaf for Trump. He doesn't like Powell and he wants him out. Even one of MAGA's most loyal
I mean,
voices
yeah, duh.
is calling that out tonight.
What is the case here? Again, just to put it out there, the DOJ should not be used for political purposes.
And just to put it out there, he's right. And more Republicans are saying this.
Wow. Ben is always very level-headed.
I support the independence of the Fed.
Ben is always, he just says it how it is. He's principled.
The independence and credibility of the Department of Justice that are in question. And Congressman French Hill just releasing a statement that reads, pursuing criminal charges relating to his testimony on building renovations at a time when the nation's economy requires focus creates an unnecessary distraction. All of those things are just basic statements of fact. Yet the White House is not backing down.
As for whether or not Jerome Powell is a criminal, that's an answer the Department of Justice is going to have to find out, and it looks like they intend to find that out.
As to whether Jerome Powell is a criminal, I mean, okay, Trump is denying, though, that he knows anything about this investigation. He told NBC News,
Right.
I don't know anything about it. But of course, it was just 15 days ago that he tipped his hand pretty clearly when he said this.
But we're thinking about bringing a gross incompetence, what's called gross incompetence lawsuit. It's gross incompetence against Powell.
And Trump has made no secret of what he thinks about Fed Chair Powell. He wants him gone because the Fed has not raised interest rates as quickly and as soon as Trump wanted. And this DOJ investigation, while it is, of course, maybe a red line for some Republicans in the way other things weren't, it is just at the end of a long, long line of attacks.
We have a lousy Fed chair. He's a bad guy. He's not a smart guy, but he's a bad guy. He's a fool. He's a stupid guy. He's truly incompetent. He's He's a stiff. He's a knucklehead. He's either evil or
Oh my
stupid.
god. He's either evil or stupid.
Powell has never
Jesus.
responded in kind to any of
I
it. Over months
I
and
saw
months
the
and months. He's never once
them
acknowledged
talking about the prosecution or whatever at work today, and I was like, what? Like, I don't understand what it is about, really.
and then released an extraordinary
Like why Trump is going after him.
in which
Well, I know why he's going after him, because he doesn't like him and he wants him out. But just like, what's the legal reasoning for it?
The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences
You know what? Let's pull in the front end here.
Hey, right there, no mincing words. This was about the independence of the Federal Reserve. And that statement, and the way Powell delivered it, is actually still a sign of incredible restraint. According to the Wall Street Journal, Powell was notified about the investigation on Friday, as I said, and he spent the weekend huddled with advisors, we understand. They weighed how to respond. And it's really important to say this. Up until now, it's not just that Trump had said all those pejorative and nasty personal attacks. It's that no matter what he said about that or interest rates, Powell never once took the bait when asked about the president's attacks. You know, it was on Fed calls when he would take reporter questions. He'd be asked. He never once engaged. In fact, the only other time that you actually even saw him respond to anything Trump did was that unprecedented fact check of Trump when Trump slammed the cost of the Fed building renovation with inaccurate accusations. And this was just sort of something that happened on Powell's face in real live time.
In real live time.
It looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
You just added in the third building, is what that is. That's the third building.
Well, no, but it's the building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago.
All right, so that was, in the moment, he couldn't help himself but to crack.
Jesus.
And look, the reality of all of this is, right, is that America's economy is the greatest economy in the world, in no small part because of the U.S. Federal Reserve, and that it is independent, and that investors around the world put their money in U.S. dollars and U.S. markets because they trust that they
Yeah, there's probably going to be either a huge jump or a huge crash tomorrow in the market.
And it's led by someone who's not swayed by politics. And of course, if that were to change,
I think it'd be a crash, because I think a lot of people don't like instability.
I'm understating it. Just listen to my friend Jim Cramer.
I think only a hack would want the job now. I think if you go after
Jim Cramer.
the Fed chair for decorating, for building a project to
Some CNBC. He's the one that always screams about stocks and goes crazy about bullshit. He's a joke.
because that's why I've been appointed. And if you're going to program, it's very possible you'll be criminally indicted.
He's the Trump of CNBC, like the personality.
Kristen Holmes is out front. She's live outside the White House. And Kristen, just extraordinary.
So-called expert.
So many extraordinary events that are happening, both large and
Yeah.
seemingly small. What are you hearing about Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and how unhappy he is about what Trump's doing here?
Yeah, and just to touch on your point, and we'll get to Scott Bessent in 1 second, but touch your point on the extraordinary here, while it is a stunning development, it's not all that surprising. This seems to have been in the works for quite some time. If you look back in July, we saw Russ Vought, the head of Office of Management and Budget, essentially writing an open letter to Powell accusing him of lying to Congress. We also saw President Trump instilling a number of his loyalists on the National Planning Committee that has since helped when it comes to the ballroom, but initially that was in part to look into this matter, to look into what was going on with the Federal Reserve building, and to ask a lot of pointed and public questions, which seem to be leaning towards some kind of criminal investigation. Now, Carolyn Levitt has said that President Trump at no time directed the Department of Justice to open this investigation, but President Trump has made his feelings on Powell incredibly clear. Now, when it comes to Scott Bessent, this itself is not that surprising. Scott Bessent is part of the reason that President Trump had been backing down from that language about actually firing Powell. Yes, he was continuing to, over and over again, berate Powell and insult him, but he kind of stepped back from that firing talk, and that's because Bessent had been in his ear, essentially telling him it is bad not only for U.S. markets, but the global economy if you do fire Powell. Even the threats of firing Powell are impacting the markets, and Bessent, I'm told, views the markets as his primary job. Now, of course, if you look at the markets today, it doesn't seem as though they were that affected by this investigation.
That's good.
But I am told that Bessent was talking to people close to him, saying he was frustrated by this and by the idea of it potentially having a larger global impact. Now, I will also tell you that I talked to a number of aides close to President Trump as well as allies who say they swear that this is not political. They believe that there should be some more investigation into this building, into the renovation, and into the budget. But of course, again, President Trump has made it clear how he feels about Jerome Powell in this position.
Yeah, he certainly has. Kristen Holmes, thank you very much. And his press secretary today saying as to whether Jerome Powell is a criminal were the words that she used. Richard Quest, Barrett Berger, and Jim Bianco are with us. Richard, it's an incredible moment. You hear the press secretary of the United States speaking of Jerome Powell, who is obviously an incredibly respected person around the world. We'll find out if he's a criminal.
The important thing on that, this is not an investigation into the overrun and overcosts of the building. This is an investigation into whether or not Jerome Powell lied. So this idea that what everybody is suggesting, it's only right and proper to have an investigation.
How much we're spending on federal funds.
As a US taxpayer, I fully agree.
Right.
But this is not that. This is an investigation into Jerome Powell's testimony about VIP dining rooms, whatever, marble and things like that. The reason I think that
What's wrong with that?
on this fever is because it's crossed the region. It's gone somewhere that nowhere's ever gone before. There have been disputes between presidents and Fed before, 1970s. Nixon had one. That's not new, but nobody's ever gone nuclear in quite this way.
I mean, Jim Bianco, I'm not trying to be funny in saying this, although it may come out that way, but it's one thing to call the Fed chair nasty and stupid and dumb and stupid and whatever else we just heard Trump say repeatedly, right, over many months. But this is different, right? This is a criminal investigation into the man.
Oh, I agree. The Federal Reserve Chairman has been often called the second most powerful man in Washington after the president. And if you can't handle a little bit of criticism, you're not
kind of.
good for the job. And Jay Powell has shown that, all the nasty words didn't bother him.
Can almost unilaterally write financial policy.
And potentially, as Jay Powell said, leading into trying to impact monetary policy, or this is a punishment for not cutting interest rates fast enough.
That's a big debate.
Yeah, and Jay Powell came out and said it, right? It wasn't even that everybody could connect the dots of what Trump had said he wanted and Powell didn't do. Powell actually came out and said that was why, which I think was also part of why it's so extraordinary, Barrett. I mean, what is this? I guess where does this go from here? How easy is this for Jerome Powell to fight this? I would imagine in addition to his day job, which we're in the midst of true economic challenges in this country and around the world, he now has to deal with this.
Yeah, exactly. I think distraction was the word that was used earlier, and that's exactly what this is. I mean, look, I think there are two reasons why this is going to be a really difficult case for DOJ to bring. The first is that lying to Congress cases are hard all of the time. They're hard because you have to show that the statement was material. It can't be just, something trivial that you got wrong. You have to show that, what you, allegedly lied about had some importance, that it had an influence on the listener. You also have to show that you made that statement intentionally, that you were really trying to mislead and it wasn't just, a misstatement. So these cases are always hard. This one will be particularly hard for them to bring because you can't look at this case in isolation. You have to look at it in the context of everything the president has said and done with respect to the Fed, all of the comments he's made about Powell, all of the nasty things he said, also all of the attempts that he has taken to undermine the independence of the Fed, threatening, trying to fire Lisa Cook, trying to, withhold certain, this is all an effort to really undermine that independence, and this case will be looked at in that context as well.
And that is why, Richard, with so much else that is happening around the world, this may matter more than anything else, because the United States cannot be the United States if investors from around the world aren't buying American assets.
Let us not concentrate on what the markets did today.
Right.
The markets are aware that Jay Powell's won vote on the FOMC, and it's a long way, and they're not going to move this month or next month because of
No, because they're really ultimately hoping this goes away.
Correct. But at the same time, if the perception of the fraying of the independence, the integrity of the Fed, this has got very long-term implications.
I mean, and Jim, long-term, but I guess medium-term in the sense of the fact that Jay Powell's term is supposed to come up. So Trump had the ability to get rid of Jay Powell this spring, right? Replace him with somebody that you want. Would have been way easier taking the job.
Yeah, I agree. You know, why is he bringing this up now? Jay Powell has only got 5 months, maybe less than 5 months left as Federal Reserve Chairman. As Richard pointed out, they're not going to cut rates at their January meeting, and that puts them into March, so that's half of those 5 months right there. But maybe this is a signal for the next Fed chairman. You know, not only are we talking about the next Fed chairman being a patsy, but Trump wants to establish the ability that he can fire the Fed chairman. So whoever he puts into place next, if they start thinking independently after they've told him what he wants to hear to get the job, he's got this big club over their head to make sure that they stay in line.
I mean, which is pretty stunning. And you think about people like Kevin Warsh, right? Super respected guy. Is he gonna want to take the job when this happens? And people don't want to look. They don't want to look like the world's biggest patsy.
Which is why it was interesting that Kevin Hassett today, he went along with the president. He says Jay Powell, who's the front runner, economic advisor, he says Jay Powell should be pleased to clear his name.
Yeah. And we know, of course, Kevin Hassett is part of that inner circle of Trump, right? I mean, we know he knows where his bread is buttered. Barrett, I want to ask you about one other breaking story, which is happening here, just developing in the past few moments. Senator Mark Kelly is suing Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and he's doing that tonight because Hegseth had moved to cut Kelly's retirement pay and his rank over the video that Kelly had reported that said you don't have to follow illegal orders, something, of course, that Hegseth a few years ago had said himself when Biden was president. And he also said this, as Senator Kelly did tonight on the Senate floor. Let me play it.
I just never expected that I would have to protect the rule of law against a Secretary of Defense. Pete Hegseth's unconstitutional crusade against me sends a chilling message to every retired member of the military.
Where does Kelly's case go?
You cut him off before he said what it was.
Kelly has what would appear from my perspective is a very strong case. Number one, he has a First Amendment protected right for this type of political speech. Number two, everything that was said in that video has the benefit of being true. The law is well settled, as Pete Hegseth knows, that military members do not and should not follow illegal orders. Nothing that was said in that video was wrong or misleading or contrary to the laws of this country. So he has a very strong legal leg to stand on. Both, everything he said could have been wrong, and he still would have had a First Amendment right to have, protected speech. But everything they said was right. So it seems to me that he would have a pretty strong basis here for his.
Barrett, Richard, Jim, thanks so much to all of you. And next, the breaking news in Minnesota, a face-off with Trump escalating this hour. The state is now suing the administration, as the administration sending an additional 1,000 agents to Minneapolis. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is next. And Trump hits Iran where it hurts, slapping hefty tariffs on any country that does business there. And we have new video of the horror taking place across that country tonight. And then the acting president of Venezuela shutting down Trump after he referred to himself on a Wikipedia page he posted online as the acting president of Venezuela.
At The RealReal, over 10,000 new arrivals drop every day, so you can shop all this from right here. The best part? It's up to 90% off. The RealReal, authenticated luxury resale. Shop now with code TRR20 for 20% off. Terms apply.
The excitement of a new season is over. Now you're into the grind. The grind part of the season, that's when the real work starts. Real bang up your store. Kids like that, stick with it. You're almost around the corner. It's like playoff time. That's what keeps you going. It's a great time of year. On TNT.
Disney Plus, Hulu, and HBO Max together for $19.99 a month.
We will face this together as a family. This tour is just when every single one of us all clicked together. The drama begins now.
Things are getting a little out of hand.
It's the ultimate bundle for an unbelievable price.
Yes!
The Disney Plus, Hulu, HBO Max bundle. Plans starting at $19.99 a month.
NFTs, not like.
All I need is discipline and focus.
The NFL, we're playing against the best.
Let's go!
All There Is with Anderson Cooper. Listen at CNN.com/allthereis.
Having one of those busy days, living the dream.
This is Brenda News. Mm-mm. Huh? Hold on. Okay. Very good. Yeah, we're back. We back, we back, we back in the speakers, back in black and blasted in the bleachers. Down, down, out. Do do do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Breaking news, a federal invasion. That is the accusation by the state of Minnesota against the Trump administration tonight. The state is filing a lawsuit after sources tell CNN that an additional 1,000 U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents are now expected to deploy to Minneapolis.
This has to stop. It just has to stop. We allege that the obvious targeting of Minnesota for our diversity, for our democracy, and our differences of opinion with the federal government is a violation of the Constitution and of federal law. These poorly trained, aggressive, and armed agents of the federal state have terrorized Minnesota with widespread unlawful conduct.
Minnesota Attorney General Ellison laying out their case. Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar represents Minneapolis, where Renee Good was shot and killed by an ICE agent. And I appreciate your time, Congresswoman. So, look, this mass deployment, as we understand it, this additional 1,000 agents that we're learning about, would bring the number of federal agents on the streets of Minneapolis to 3,000, right? So if you add it to the 2,000 that they'd already said was the biggest ever immigration surge to an American city, you've now increased that by a third to 3,000, dwarfing the number of Minneapolis police. Do you worry, Congresswoman, that this could turn into a conflict, that the agents could come into conflict with Minneapolis police?
I mean, it feels like we have an occupying force that has come into our city. It is completely dangerous. It feels like we do not have a proper understanding of what the strategy is, what they're supposed to be doing when it comes to the federal law enforcement that has come into our community. And so it is one of those cases where it can result into a more dangerous situation. And I agree with our Attorney General Keith Ellison in saying we would like for you all to leave, and that we are taking action to require you to leave, because it doesn't make any sense why you are in our city outside of the PR strategy that the White House has been conducting in Minnesota.
You have said, Congresswoman, that as part of accountability, that it's important for people to record ICE agents so that, to take cell phone videos when things happen. But I'm curious about how you feel now in the context of the tragedy that happened to Renee Good. Right, her wife was filming the tragedy. The ICE officer who shot Good was also filming, right? So we've got lots of video, never mind all the other people who are around. But I'm wondering if you're worried that by encouraging people to film, that could be encouraging somehow people to end up in more danger.
Somehow, you're antagonizing police. Somehow, we don't know how that's gonna turn out poorly.
Or if you think about
Could, never know.
Border Patrol agents are doing, it's that
Are
they
you
don't have
stupid?
jurisdiction, in pulling over
No.
citizens and stopping them and questioning them.
Such idiots.
And detaining them oftentimes. So it is important.
I don't know.
For regular
Maybe
civilians to be able
if I try and lick a cactus, it might hurt. I don't know.
their conduct.
Try and poke a tiger, it might bite you. We don't know. Could be.
Have accountability. We might not be able to deliver accountability.
Fucking
under the
idiots.
Trump administration, but there is no possibility in which we are not going to be able to deliver accountability for the American public after Trump leaves office when it comes to these agents.
All right, so you spoke out, obviously, against the administration's version of events in the Good shooting, and the White House came out after
The Good shooting.
and they've told them, so I just wanted to quote for you, this is just
The Good
response to
Doctor.
what you said yesterday, that videos have debunked Ilhan Omar's lies. The ICE officer was clearly struck by Good's car. Omar should acknowledge the truth rather than lie about law enforcement and incite more violence against them. What is your response to them? And I guess as part of this, if it turns out that Good's car did bump the agent, right? If that happened, does that change anything about how you see things and the fact that this still shouldn't have happened?
I mean, it is the most BS statement again that the administration can put out. You see this officer clearly go in front of the car as she reverses. You see his hands on the car. You see his feet is very far away from the wheels of the car. So there was no possibility that he might have been afraid of getting hit by the car. And so it is a clear PR. It's a defense of a clear murder.
Oh my God.
On TV by the
TV?
administration, and it is shameful, and it should not be acceptable. It's unconscionable.
Acceptable?
And I stand by everything that I've said.
Are you
That's
comfortable
good.
with the word murder?
I am very comfortable with the word murder. There is no conscionable way in which you watch the video that the administration
God, her
itself
voice
has
drives me
produced,
crazy.
and you do not see this person, this officer, Jonathan Ross, clearly murdering this woman. Not only does he shoot her in the face, but you see two more shots being fired on the side of the driver's window. There is no way to explain this outside of it being a clearly thought out murder and execution of this woman.
Execution.
All right. Congresswoman Omar, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And I want to go now to Mark Romero, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. Okay.
Not that
There's a lot of
complicated.
talk, but let's just start with the fact that
Right.
Congresswoman Omar is standing by her use of the word murder.
It's not complicated.
What do you see?
Well, it's a homicide because somebody killed somebody else. Murder is an unjustified intentional killing of somebody else, and that I don't think is what happened here. The question
Right.
really is, and
Because
unfortunately,
Ilhan's an
we
idiot.
don't have a wonderful video of it, but the most recent video that came out does suggest that he was in front of the car and probably tapped him. But more important to me is, the reason for it. Look, traditional self-defense, this is what now the administration is saying, what he is saying, is basically an imminent threat. It was sort of imminent because the car was there. Deadly weapon. Unfortunately, a car can be a deadly weapon when it's moving. And then your response to it has to be reasonable under the circumstances, and then you can use deadly force. So great, on a law school exam question, he may have acted in technical self-defense.
Except for the fact that he could have just stepped back.
And that's the whole point. Was it necessary? It justified is over here. Fine. It may be justified under the law because he got, let's call it a C- on
Right.
all those criteria. But was it necessary? He literally moved 3 feet to his right. He did not get injured. He can argue.
And law enforcement, as we know, I mean, they're trained to de-escalate.
That's a good distinction. I like that guy.
Cars, you have the-
Justified legally, maybe, but necessary, no.
They're going to get yelled at. That's part of
That's a great way of putting it.
Overreact to something like that. I said before, and I think this was more out of arrogance than fear. I don't think he liked what the wife said to him around the car. He came around the car. First of all, why in God's name is he walking in front of a car that has a driver? Don't
True.
do that.
Right.
Walk around the back or walk 10 feet in front of you. Give yourself the room.
So, the press secretary, Caroline Levitt, is saying that Trump stands fully behind the agent, and I would see no reason why that's ever going to change, given the political climate in this country right now. But let me just play her reasoning for that.
There is plentiful video evidence to show that the officer was struck by the car, that this deranged lunatic woman was trying to ram him over with her vehicle and was using that vehicle as a weapon, which justifies domestic terrorism.
Okay.
Okay, that's also a little too far.
Obviously, a lot in there seems to be in the land of Absurdistan. Okay, but you've got
Absurdistan.
Ilhan Omar calling it murder, and you've got Caroline Levitt calling it domestic terrorism. I would imagine you feel that it is as far away from domestic terrorism as you thought it was from murder.
It is absolutely not domestic terror. And quite honestly, that type of political, catchphrase or whatever it is, or soundbite, doesn't deserve to be in this case. It's a horrible tragedy where a woman who seems to be doing not very much wrong at all, even if she was resisting, like Gandhi, quiet resistance, doesn't deserve
Quiet resistance as you try to run someone over with your car. Like, come on.
Right to resist. She's not doing so violently.
Constitutional right to resist. We're supposed to ask for redress from the government, and if the government's on the street, we can do it on the street. But the idea that it's domestic terrorism, it's a soundbite, but it really denigrates what we're going through with real domestic terrorists that are out there assailing our country. She's just not one of them.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark Mara. And up front next, breaking news, leave Iran now. That is the message to any American who is in Iran tonight. A chilling video has emerged of the deadly violence rocking protests across that country. Plus, one of Putin's closest allies now openly calling for Trump to work with Russia to take Greenland by force. What is going on?
The people have fancy rings that track their health. That's why the people need help from the chefs at Cookunity, like Michelin-starred chef Rick Bayless. The people try eating healthy to get nice notifications, but eating healthy can be stressful, and the ring doesn't like that. So they subscribe to Cookunity, where 180 chefs deliver balanced masterpieces ready in 2 minutes, so the people can enjoy wellness and the notifications. Cookunity, chefs to the people.
I've been playing Misplay for probably about 5 or 6 years. Misplay is a mobile app where you can gain points from downloading different games. When I use my points on Misplay, I like to cash them in for Amazon gift cards. Sometimes I just have the money set to my PayPal. When I saw the sweepstakes for $20,000, I really thought, well, that's a sweepstakes I can get behind. I think that I will go ahead and enter. And if I can win, anybody can win.
When my hair started to thin, I wasn't feeling so confident.
I stopped hanging out with the guys because I didn't want to hear the wisecracks.
I started taking Nutrafol because I had seen that it worked with my friend.
Nutrafol really takes the time to do the research, to do the clinical studies, and I really respect how it works from the inside out.
Nutrafol was able to bring my hair back to life, and it keeps getting thicker and fuller.
Yeah.
It felt real good to ditch that.
Yeah.
Start your hair growth journey at Nutrafol.com.
Every Sunday night, he can't sleep. But not this Sunday.
When you really need to sleep, ZzzQuil has no equal.
Huh?
The deeply restorative sleep you need.
My what?
Are you hungry?
I'm alright.
On 48-hour checks, calls don't really care if you're eating, if you're trying to sleep, or if you're working out. Before, I was having
Can I use a
trouble
plate?
maintaining consistency, my energy was low.
We don't have any paper towels.
And the biggest change I've noticed
Or
is having
they're in the closet or whatever.
energy
Use a paper
levels.
plate.
I feel good from morning till
Oh.
night. I've been in
I
the
already did
service for over
Okay,
20 years,
whatever.
and without the resiliency and having a
It's
well-rounded
dairy,
routine,
right?
I don't think
It's
I would
dairy
have
plate.
this far.
No.
What?
No. I thought it was fun.
I thought it was hilarious.
Huh?
I thought it was hilarious. That's a show we should watch.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Once kids try Once Upon a Farm,
Yeah.
they won't stop talking about all the goodness.
The government spends your dollars.
Your tax dollars efficiently.
Whether it's care before or after school, or a sitter for
I
dinner,
thought it was hilarious.
the new care.com makes it easier than ever to find the care you need. And you don't have to hire just anyone. You can find a background checked caregiver who's the right fit for you. Join now and find care at care.com. This is the first party she remembers.
I thought Brenda was
This is
hilarious.
her first graduation. This is the big one.
Hmm?
More parties. This is her first apartment. Her first real art. Her first real dinner party. This is where she fell in love. Here. And also here. This is their first stop. Their third winter. Their fifth summer. Their first holiday card. Their first home. Who knew life would take them so many places?
Grief isn't talked about much, but that's what my podcast is all about. Join me and my guests for a new season with new conversations about loss, life, and love.
All There Is with Anderson Cooper. Listen at cnn.com/allthereis.
Breaking news, leave now. That is a warning from the State Department to any American citizens inside Iran right now as the regime faces its most serious anti-government protests in years. President Trump ratcheting up the pressure on Iran, saying he's putting a 25% tariff on any country that does business there, quote, effective immediately. The violence inside Iran is growing worse amid a brutal crackdown. One human rights group confirming the deaths of more than 500 protesters. It is an incredible black box, and to think that such a black box could exist in a world of social media like this. But Jamana Karacha is out front, and I want to warn our viewers that some of what you're about to see in her report may be disturbing.
Oh my god, look.
From behind the walls of the Iranian regime's censorship, a chilling video has emerged.
Oh my god.
Every movement of what may be a hidden camera reveals a terrifying picture of what's been unfolding on the ground. They butchered him, this mourner wails. Families gathered at this medical center outside Tehran, searching for loved ones.
Look at all those.
Lines of lifeless bodies are stored in a warehouse turned morgue. Inside the center, distraught family members stand anxiously in front of a screen that flashes photos of the dead. From that same location, state media had its own pictures and narrative, reporting the majority of the bodies are those of, quote, ordinary citizens. They blame their deaths, like the protests, on foreign-backed terrorists carrying out what they say are indiscriminate killings. These pictures the regime decided to air, perhaps a warning to those who dare take to the streets. It's almost impossible for us to get real-time updates from Iran. The regime's shut down communications across the country on Thursday, just as nationwide protests against the clerical establishment drew larger crowds to the streets of every province. It's a tactic out of its playbook for crushing dissent, cover it's used in the past to unleash bloody force. The little testimony and images that have been trickling out only a small window into what a ruthless regime doesn't want the world to see.
See that?
This that purportedly captures feared state security forces out on the streets is slowly surfacing, sent out by those who are risking their lives to get it out. As the US weighs its next move, following the president's threats to strike hard if the regime kills protesters, President Trump now saying Iran has reached out to negotiate.
But we may have to act because of what's happening before the meeting.
In this one location, an estimated 250 bodies, with hundreds more confirmed killed elsewhere, according to activists. The world now braces for what may come when Iran finally emerges from the dark. Jumana Kadache, CNN, London.
That's horrible.
And out front now is Skylar Thompson in the wake of Jumana's reporting. She's
If
a deputy
Trump
director
doesn't do
of human rights
something,
activists in Iran.
he
It's
needs
an
to.
organization
So
that's
bad.
closely tracking the turmoil unfolding. And Skylar, I mean, it's just incredible. As I was talking about it with the black box, we have a view inside that box. The reports that we hear, violence inside Iran has skyrocketed in the last few days. And I know that you're getting more information about that, but also from inside hospitals. What are you learning tonight?
Yeah, a black box is a really unfortunately accurate way to put it. We've now seen an unprecedented shutdown of communication surpassing 100 hours. So it's really difficult information. It's reduced to a minimum, but what we are able to glean from our network is absolute brutality. Jumana's package correctly mentioned bodies upwards of 250 in one place. And we've, documented over 500 deaths, as you mentioned as well, but we have over 500 cases still under investigation. So it really sort of paints the picture of what kind of brutality we're looking at. Inside hospitals, we have collected documents from doctors that show people impacted with tear gas, people shot at close range, and oftentimes they can't even seek appropriate medical care because doctors are stretched thin, or they're being taken directly to a detention facility rather than getting the care that they need.
I know that you've also been reporting, Skylar, on state television in Iran, and that there's been an unprecedented number of forced confessions that they have actually broadcast on state TV. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's absolutely something that we haven't seen before. This number really concerns us. People are being arbitrarily arrested, as we've documented, thousands, tens of thousands of people. And what happens is they're arrested, they're taken to a detention facility, unknown at times.